Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I hope you're having a wonderful and blessed day. I hope everything is going great for you and you're following all the directions that God is telling you for your life. And so for me, I wanted to do a testimony about some wonderful, wonderful things that God do when you're paying attention and doing and listening to what He's telling you to do and stop trying to do it on your own. And for me, I was trying to do something on my own that I shouldn't have been doing on my own, which was trying to figure out a way to deal with the hot weather without calling the repairman at a certain time to check on the AC. So I've been having like issues with my AC for the last 3 months, off and on. It has been causing me major issues, and the house has been very hot, and in my city it is very, very hot right now. Today it is Sunday, and tomorrow's Labor Day, which is Monday, and today it is 106. Tomorrow it's going to be 101, I think 103, and the following day it's going to be 101. So it's been very, 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 very hot out here. But this happened, my AC started giving me issues like 3 months ago. I had a gentleman come out and check the AC, and it appeared that it was fixed because he told me, he saw what the problem was, but apparently the AC had other issues that were going on with it that I didn't know. And so I just felt like everything was cool. I turned the fan on the AC at night, and it was fine. But then I started having more and more issues with the AC, and I tried to handle the issues a little bit on my own, meaning like when it first started acting up a second time, I would just say, well, let me just turn on the house fans in the house. Everything would be great in the house, and just trying to handle it that way, drink a lot of water. And so my mind was still stuck on how to handle it in a way that I would handle it in the Los Angeles area. And when I lived in LA, it's a little bit more cooler, but we actually get hot out there. And so I waited longer than I should have called the gentleman to check the AC, which was more than 2 days, because I was out of town. And when I came back into town after the first gentleman fixed the AC, I had one dead fish because the AC wasn't working. And with fish and certain fish, when they're in the fish tank, their temperature need to be at a certain temperature, and the ones I have, their temperature in their fish tank need to be in the 70s, and the house was like at 85 all the way almost to 86. And so I waited one day, but I did leave a voicemail for them to have a gentleman come out and fix the AC. And so the following day he came to check the AC, but he explained to me once he came there, like before he came, actually before I even called, talking to the company that handles repairing it, because the management company handle it that's managing the home that I'm renting. But I also speak to the repair company that actually send the gentleman out to fix it. So before I even spoke to the gentleman, and before he even came and checked the AC, I was trying to figure out what I should do, my next step should be. And I finally started saying, you know what, God, I am making such a bad mistake by not talking to you first about what I should do. And he told me, he said immediately, you need to book a hotel. And I'm thinking, and the way God actually do things are so beautiful, because he will show you like images too. He will talk and show you like, you need to book a hotel. And he showed me the hotel that's in the city. And I was like, okay, but the gentleman hasn't even come here to check the AC and see what's going on with it. And I said, okay, well, let me just go ahead and book this hotel, because I know Father see all and he know all, and me trying to make a decision about whether I should book it or not, it's just not the right choice for me to be doing. I need to go ahead and book it because it's for a reason. So when the gentleman actually got here to look at the AC, he told me it was ice buildup on the AC, and he would not be able to fix it or work on it today. He needs the ice to melt out off of it so that he can actually look at it and see what's wrong with it. So by this time, it is actually 4 o'clock at night, not night, in the evening, because he had already explained to me that he wouldn't be able to make it until maybe between hours of 12, or not even 12 or 4, but around 4 or 3. And I was like, okay, I'm cool, but it's going to be hot. And so when he said he wouldn't be able to do anything to it, just let the fan run, at that time my house was looking at 87. And I was saying to myself, there is no way in the world I'm going to be able to be in this house why it's hot like that. It's just very, very hot. I have got to get out of here. I've got to, I had already booked a hotel. As I mentioned to you, God had already told me to book a hotel. So I told him I wouldn't be able to be here in this hot weather. And so I told him, I said, I'll be staying at a hotel. And he said, well, I'll be back here tomorrow, so I need someone to be here tomorrow. I said, well, I'll be returning back to the house for you to take a look at the AC, and then I'll be going back to the hotel. Because at that time, I was very, very drained. I was very tired. The heat was getting to me. I was feeling like I was getting ready to have like heat exhaustion. And so I knew I needed to be somewhere cool and not lay and stay in the home, because my son has autism, and he wasn't saying anything verbally how he feel, but he does speak a little bit verbal. But his face was showing me that he just wasn't really doing very well with the heat. And so I told the gentleman, I said, we'll be back here when you're coming back tomorrow, so you can look at the AC. And so I went to the hotel, and at that time, as I mentioned, God had told me to book a room at the hotel. He told me to book for 4 days. The gentleman came on a Thursday, and then he said he was going to come back Friday to look at the AC. And so I said, well, okay, what I'm going to do is do exactly what God is telling me to do, because I know for some reason that this thing is not going to be as resolved as soon as I'm thinking it's going to be resolved. But what God was telling me, you needed to take a break because your body is drained from the heat, and your son's body is drained from the heat, and you guys need to have some time where you can just actually relax and heal from going through the heat, because we had went through it when I got back from out of town. We got home around, I think it was 5 o'clock, and that was actually a Wednesday. And so I had called the company on Wednesday, the management company, and the gentleman didn't come out until Thursday. So we're dealing with hot weather from Wednesday to Thursday afternoon. And the AC is not blowing out much of anything, and the house is staying exactly at 88, 89. And so I came back home for the gentleman to work on the AC on Friday, but we actually kind of missed each other because he was coming between the hours of 12 and 4, and I got there exactly at 12:20, and then I left around 3:30. And so we missed each other. But around 3:30, it just really started getting hot in there, and my son was not really feeling too good. And so I said, we need to get out of this heat. And so my aunt, she took me back to the hotel. And so I stayed there for until 4 days, like God told me to stay there. And I got back home exactly Tuesday. And when I got back home Tuesday, he worked on it, and it was working for a little bit of a while. It was blowing out enough cold air. It was much cooler in the house. My aunt was saying, yeah, it feels much better. But within 2 weeks, we started having more issues with it. And I was saying, you know what? There is definitely something wrong with this AC, and I don't know what it is. And so when it started acting up again, it was actually on a Wednesday, which is so weird. It was on a Wednesday. And I remember calling the management company the following day, because I just thought maybe I just need to let it run so that the ice can melt off of it, because he said it was ice built up there the first time. And that didn't work. What was happening is the AC started blowing out cool air in the morning, but towards the afternoon around 2 or 3 it would stop. And so me trying to do things on my own, I started trying to handle it on my own. I didn't ask God for help. I just really asked his opinion on something. I said, well, should I buy a swamp cooler? Is this swamp cooler good? And I really don't think I really was listening to clearly. Now, it's a good swamp cooler, but it's not going to help to keep this house very cool. My frustration was I didn't want to go back to the hotel. I did not want to go back down there because I had already been there for the same situation. It's a nice hotel. It's the Best Western Hotel. They serve breakfast in the morning, which is really, really cool. My son loves going to the vending machine at any hotel that we stay at. He's like a junkie for vending machines. And so I called them to let them know that the AC was acting up really, really, really bad. And what they didn't respond to me from leaving a voicemail, because I didn't get a chance to talk to anyone this time, but I got a chance to leave a voicemail because the times I were calling, I was going directly to voicemail. And so I also wrote them on Facebook. They have like a page where you can write them and let them know what's going on. And so I said, you know what, it is just getting so hot in here, I just can't take it. But I kept trying to deal with it in a way of not really paying attention to the last time God told me to stay at the hotel. I didn't listen to him. And so I stayed at the hotel the first time, but I didn't listen to, you need to turn to God for him to help you make this decision on handling this. And I kept saying, well, I'm thinking to myself, I know I can handle this without bugging him because I know he's very busy. And this is what's coming to my mind without me saying, like, you need to really talk to your Heavenly Father and find out what direction Jesus is going to tell you to go and what he's going to tell you to do. And so what I did after battling with trying to handle it myself with the swamp cooler I purchased, that it cannot handle this kind of hot weather, which today is 106 as I mentioned, and it's going to be 103 tomorrow. I had to tell myself, you need to ask your Father what he wants you to do and stop buying things. And he told me the same thing. You need to book a room at the hotel and stay up there. Now, I just want to point this part out. When I stayed at the hotel the first time God told me to stay there, he had already told me, you're going to start making this hotel like a home. And he wasn't talking about like permanently staying there. He was just saying that you're going to come back and forth there for a reason. And at first I was like, this is cool, but it doesn't have a kitchen. You know, like the other hotels, they have some hotels that have kitchens, and me having a son with autism, I'm like, I need a kitchen where I can cook. And that way I don't have to go out and spend a lot of money in buying fast food. But it has like in the morning, they actually serve breakfast in the morning. And then they have like little refrigerators in the hotel room. And so I was sitting there saying, okay, but Father in heaven was right, because I started having issues with this AC before. I guess started having issues with it again. And not before, but having issues with it again because I had already had issues with it before. And I started saying, oh my gosh, Father's right. Let me talk to him about what he wants me to do. And as I mentioned, he told me, you need to book a room at the hotel. And the repairman had not even came to check the AC at this time yet. But he said, you need to book it until Wednesday. And I was like, okay, I'm going to book it until Wednesday. And so my son started coming to me and telling me he was hot. And that's a red flag for any parent, that you need to immediately make sure your child is taken care of. And so when the repairman came, the first thing he told me, he said, listen, I'm not going to be able No, I'm wrong. Let me correct that, because I said he came the first time to check it was ice on there. So when I came back home, when it was acting up this time, they did not come the time that I called them. That's where I was at. Thursday, I called, no reply Friday, and so God told me to book a hotel room because I had waited all the way till Sunday before I really start realizing I cannot tackle this heat anymore. And so God told me to book a room until Wednesday. And so we checked into the Best Western Hotel on Sunday night, and we returned home on Wednesday. But on Monday, I talked to one of the young ladies at the management company. And this is the part that is so hurtful, because people are not really realizing you are really battling heat. Now, some of the young ladies and gentlemen that work down there at the management company, they live in the city, and some of them don't. But Kern County in general is just very, very hot. If you're living in the city I'm living, or any city that's close here, it's just hot around this time because it's summertime. And so when I was talking to her, she was telling me, well, we did try to get in contact with you and you were not there. We could have had this just taken care of had you just stayed, at the house, and we could have sent him out on Monday. That's impossible, because I called Thursday and Friday and nobody replied to me. And then I said, by then, when Sunday hit, I said, well, I will not be back here until Wednesday, because it was very, very hot. And I didn't want to take a chance of having a heat stroke or any of that. I've dealt with heat exhaustion before. I've dealt with the bad weather before, of dealing with too much heat on me and getting very, very hot from the weather. And I had to admit myself into a hospital. And this was years and years ago when my son was much younger. And so I know how it feels. It actually sneaks up on you. You don't realize that you're hot until you're just feeling really, really weird. And so what I did from there was, after talking to her, she said, well, listen, I'm not going to be able to have anybody out there until Wednesday. And I'm thinking to myself as I'm talking to her, God told me to book this room until Wednesday. And after I finished talking to her, he said, then now you need to just rest and build your strength up. Because people don't realize how much the heat actually affects your body. It actually drains your body. You're sweating a lot. And so it actually drained my body. And so me and my son, the first day and the second day, we actually just laid down in the bed and slept. And the room is just really nice, and it has two big beds, nice screen TV. Their AC working. I was just happy to be in a room with a little refrigerator where I can sit there and just relax and not feel like I may need to go to the hospital. Because when you're dealing with a child with autism, whether it's a girl or a boy or an adult child or a family member or anyone that's ill for any reason, for any sickness or any disability, you need to also take care of yourself and the person you're caring for. But your body is very number one priority, because you cannot take care of them and yourself. And so when I got back home on Wednesday, the gentleman told me, he said the AC needed some parts, but he said he doesn't have the parts, but he has to order the parts. And I was saying, okay. So I got to deal with this hot weather. He said, well, it's blowing out a little cold air. But he said, what you want to do is just make sure you turn it off at night. Not turn it off, but turn the fan on at night so that if there's any ice buildup there, it'll melt it. And I said, okay, that's fine. And there was one part that I actually missed when I was talking to the young lady at the management company. when I spoke to her, I remember the way she was talking to me. And it was just very, very, in my opinion, just not understanding. It was like she was cutting me off a lot, and she wasn't really trying to hear my point of view about the AC. And instead of, I felt like her having sympathy about what I was dealing with, she was really more focused on, well, you should have been there, and that way he could have looked at the AC, and we wouldn't have to be talking about it on Monday. And I told her, I said, listen, I have a son with autism. I cannot be in that house, and I feel like your energy, you're just not seeing what I'm trying to tell you. And she's like, no. And she said, well, you didn't happen to have that AC on 65, did you? And she kind of like laughed about it. And I told her, no, I know how to work an AC. I know my AC, I keep it on 76. And after talking to her, I had actually just woke up, so my voice was really raspy, and so it just felt like, maybe she felt like I was crying or something, but I wasn't. I just told her, I said, you know what, have a blessed day, and I will definitely be there Wednesday when he comes. And she said, okay, we'll send him out Wednesday. So when I got here Wednesday, as I was mentioning, he looked at it and he told me the AC needed some parts. And I said, okay, because he said it's damp up there. It's something wrong with it. The motor is not working and it's not blowing air. And so he said, I gotta let them know I'm gonna order some parts, and then from there we'll go from there. But he didn't tell me when he would be coming back. So I was waiting to hear something from like maybe the management company, and I didn't hear anything. So I was like, okay, let me call them Thursday. Now the old me would have sat there and waited until I heard something from them. But when God is telling you to do some things, and when he's changing you to be more focused and taking care of business in the way you need to take care of business, I had to make a decision to tell myself, no, you need to call them and find out when this gentleman is going to be coming back. Well, I called the management company, spoke to a different young lady. Talking to her, it was just like talking to the lady that I talked to on Monday. Because first she said, well, I wasn't here when the calls came through. I just got in this morning, so I wasn't here last night when whoever you spoke to last night, so I don't know what to tell you and what parts you're talking about. I see some parts that have been ordered, but I don't know if they're for you. I said, well, the gentleman who was here yesterday told me he had to order some parts for the AC. And she's like, well, they must be for you. I said, can you tell me when he's going to be coming back, if he's going to be coming back today, or what day he's going to be coming, because it's very, very hot in this house when it gets around 3 and 2 o'clock. And she was like, I don't know when he's going to be coming back, and I wasn't here, and I don't have any information on that, so her energy was just really, really like, I really don't care. And I told her, I said, your energy, and she gave me the other young lady's number who actually handles everything dealing with the AC and managing the property. And I told her, I said, you know what? Your energy is just like hers. I talked to her yesterday, and she was giving me the same energy. She was cutting me off. She was acting like she didn't want to hear anything I had to say. And it was becoming very, very overwhelming to deal with. And I said, I have a responsibility. I have a child with autism, and this hot weather gets to him. I said, it gets to me. I said, if I cannot get the situation fixed in this home, I need to be gone. And so I said, but I didn't call her. I didn't call the lady. I didn't speak to her. I didn't call the number she gave me, because I just spoke to that young lady that day before. And after waiting for a little bit of a while, I got a telephone call from the lady that I spoke to the day before. And she said, well, the gentleman, he got the parts, he got the parts approved. He already got them. He will be out there to fix the AC. And then she started telling me, had you been there Monday, we would have got the stuff resolved Monday. And I told her, I said, well, I picked to come back Wednesday because the last time that he was at the house, it was like on a Wednesday. Now, during the whole entire time of talking to both of these young ladies, I was remaining very positive. I wasn't arguing with them because I don't argue with people over the phone. And I was just trying to let her know, like, it is just too hot to be in this house. And when I end the call talking to them, I said to them, both of them, have a blessed day. Because they were, to me, I felt like no matter how much I went back and forth with them, I just felt like they just really wasn't understanding what I was feeling. And so she told me, she said, another thing we're going to do is give you credit for the rent. Now, I know that was totally God, because the parts, I didn't know when he was going to get the parts, but he got approved for the parts on that, and they came out Thursday, that same day that they told me he had the parts. And then when he got approved for the parts, then they gave me a credit for the rent. My thing about sharing this story is you need to listen to God when he tells you to do things, because he's doing things for your benefit, for you, so that you would be doing so much well and not be getting sick.